The ancient Celts are one of the most enigmatic and captivating civilizations in human history. Their legacy is woven into the fabric of Europe, from the mysterious construction of Stonehenge to the breathtakingly intricate metalwork that still inspires awe today. Yet, despite their profound influence, the Celts are often misunderstood, reduced to caricatures of wild, horn-helmeted warriors or mystical druids. Who were the Celts really? What can we learn about their culture, beliefs, and way of life? Join us as we embark on a journey to uncover the truth about this fascinating civilization. One of the greatest obstacles to understanding the ancient Celts is the lack of direct, written records from their own perspective. Unlike the Romans, Egyptians, or Greeks, the Celts did not leave behind extensive written histories or monumental inscriptions. Instead, much of what we know about them comes from archaeological discoveries and the writings of their contemporaries, primarily the Greeks and Romans. Unfortunately, these accounts are often biased, portraying the Celts as barbaric, uncivilized, and chaotic. The Roman historian Julius Caesar, for example, described the Celts as fierce warriors but also as a people lacking in discipline and refinement. However, Caesar's accounts were written with a clear political agenda, to justify his military campaigns in Gaul. Similarly, Greek writers like Strabo and Diodorus Siculus often depicted the Celts as exotic and dangerous, emphasizing their supposed savagery to contrast with the civilized Mediterranean world. These portrayals, while valuable as historical sources, must be taken with a grain of salt. Adding to the challenge is the decentralized nature of Celtic society. Unlike the centralized empires of Rome or Egypt, the Celts were a collection of tribes and clans spread across vast regions of Europe. From the British Isles to the Iberian Peninsula, from the Alps to the Balkans, Celtic culture was diverse and varied. This lack of a unified political structure or centralized record-keeping makes it difficult to piece together a coherent picture of their civilization. The term Celt itself is somewhat misleading. It is a modern label used to describe a group of Iron Age peoples who shared linguistic, cultural, and artistic traits. The Celts were not a single, unified nation, but rather a collection of tribes with shared cultural elements. They spoke languages belonging to the Celtic branch of the Indo-European family, which includes modern languages like Irish, Welsh, and Breton. The origins of the Celts can be traced back to the Hallstatt culture, circa 1200 to 500 BCE, in Central Europe, named after a significant archaeological site in modern-day Austria. This early Celtic culture was characterized by advanced metalworking, particularly in iron and bronze, as well as distinctive burial practices. The Hallstatt culture eventually gave way to the Latine culture, circa 500 BCE, 1st century CE, which is often considered the height of Celtic civilization. Latine art, with its intricate, swirling patterns and motifs, is one of the most recognizable aspects of Celtic heritage. Celtic art is one of the most striking windows into their world. The intricate designs found on metalwork, pottery, and jewelry reveal a deep appreciation for beauty and craftsmanship. These swirling, interwoven patterns were not merely decorative, they held profound spiritual significance. The Celts believed in the interconnectedness of all things, nature, humanity, and the divine, and their art reflects this worldview. Spirals, knots, and other motifs symbolize eternity, cycles of life and death, and the unity of the cosmos. Religion was central to Celtic life, and their spiritual practices were deeply tied to the natural world. Sacred groves, rivers, and mountains were seen as places where the divine and mortal realms intersected. The Celts worshipped a pantheon of gods and goddesses, each associated with specific aspects of life, such as fertility, war, healing, and the harvest. Some of the most well-known deities include Lugus, a god of light and craftsmanship, Brigid, a goddess of poetry, healing, and fertility, and Cernunnos, a horned god associated with nature and animals. Druids, the priestly class of Celtic society, played a crucial role in maintaining the spiritual and social order. They were not only religious leaders but also scholars, judges, and advisors. The Druids were said to possess profound knowledge of astronomy, medicine, and philosophy, and they were highly respected within their communities. However, much of what we know about the Druids comes from Roman accounts, which often portray them as mysterious and even dangerous figures. Celtic society was organized around tribes and clans, with a strong emphasis on kinship and community. Leadership was often hereditary, but tribal chiefs were expected to demonstrate bravery, wisdom, and generosity. Warriors held a high status in Celtic culture, and their prowess in battle was celebrated in songs and stories. However, the Celts were not solely defined by warfare. They were also skilled farmers, traders, and artisans. Agriculture was the backbone of Celtic life, with crops like barley, wheat, and oats forming the basis of their diet. They also raised livestock, including cattle, sheep, and pigs. Trade was another important aspect of Celtic society, and their networks extended far beyond their tribal territories. Celtic goods, such as finely crafted weapons, jewelry, and textiles, have been found as far afield as the Mediterranean and the Middle East. Women in Celtic society enjoyed a relatively high degree of freedom and influence compared to their counterparts in other ancient cultures. They could own property, inherit land, and even serve as warriors or leaders. Figures like Boudica, the warrior queen of the Iceni tribe, demonstrate the prominent roles women could play in Celtic society. The Celts had a profound connection to the natural world, which was reflected in their art, religion, and daily life. They viewed nature as sacred and imbued with spiritual energy. Trees, in particular, held a special significance, with certain species like oak, ash, and yew considered especially sacred. The concept of the sacred grove was central to Celtic spirituality, and many religious ceremonies were conducted in these natural sanctuaries. Seasonal festivals marked the turning points of the year and were closely tied to agricultural cycles. Samhain, for example, celebrated the end of the harvest and the beginning of winter, while Beltane marked the arrival of spring and the renewal of life. These festivals were times of communal celebration, featuring feasting, music, and rituals to honor the gods and ensure prosperity. Despite the challenges of piecing together their history, the Celts have left an indelible mark on European culture. Their influence can be seen in everything from language and mythology to art and literature. The Celtic languages, though diminished, are still spoken in regions like Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and Brittany, preserving a vital link to the past. Celtic mythology has inspired countless works of art, music, and literature. Tales of heroes like Cú Chulainn and Finn mac Cool, as well as the legends of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, draw heavily from Celtic traditions. The Romantic movement of the 18th and 19th centuries revived interest in Celtic culture, leading to a renewed appreciation for their art, music, and folklore. Even modern celebrations like Halloween and Christmas have roots in Celtic traditions. Samhain, the ancient festival marking the end of the harvest, evolved into Halloween, while elements of Yule, a midwinter festival, were incorporated into Christmas celebrations. One of the most persistent stereotypes about the Celts is the image of the horn-helmeted barbarian. This depiction, popularized by 19th-century art and modern media, has little basis in reality. While the Celts were undoubtedly fierce warriors, they were also a sophisticated and creative people. Their societies were highly organized, with complex legal systems, trade networks, and artistic traditions. Another misconception is that the Celts were a single, unified people. In reality, they were a diverse collection of tribes with distinct customs and traditions. This diversity is both a challenge and a strength for historians, as it reveals the richness and complexity of Celtic culture. The ancient Celts were far more than the stereotypes of savage warriors or mystical druids. They were a vibrant, multifaceted civilization that made lasting contributions to art, language, religion, and culture. Their legacy is all around us, from the swirling patterns of Celtic art to the enduring power of their myths and legends. By examining the archaeological evidence, challenging biased historical accounts, and celebrating the diversity of Celtic culture, we can begin to uncover the truth about who the Celts really were. They were a people deeply connected to the natural world, guided by a rich spiritual tradition, and united by a shared appreciation for beauty, community, and creativity. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the heart of the ancient Celts. What do you think about the Celts? Do you have a favorite Celtic myth, or are you fascinated by their art and traditions? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to check out our other explorations of ancient civilizations on Emerald Chronicle.